Some people travel the world in search of luxury, but there are also the restless wanderers, tirelessly hunting for truth. Anthony Bourdain, chef, writer, storyteller, belonged to the second camp. He didn't just eat, he lived through each dish, breathed in the soul of every street, and listened to the heartbeat of every culture through a simple plate of food. And on that relentless transcontinental journey, one place left the deepest mark on this gifted traveler's heart and palate: Vietnam.
This country, when I first arrived here, it smelled like a place that I would like.
The minute you touch down here, it grabs you, it captivates you, and chances are, it holds you forever.
For Bourdain, Vietnam wasn't a destination. It was an emotional landscape. It was a place where profound philosophies weren't found in books, but on the small red and blue plastic stools by the roadside. It was where the complexity of history and the resilience of a people were perfectly condensed into a bowl of spicy beef noodle soup or a crispy baguette. He found an unvarnished beauty here, a truth so raw it existed in the chaotic symphony of car horns, the sizzle of a hot pan, and the satisfying slurp of noodles. He loved how the best food wasn't found in fine dining restaurants, but in a market corner, at a street vendor's stall, from the hands of a woman who had been cooking that one dish her entire life. Today, let's set aside the conventional definitions of cuisine. We won't just be listing dishes. Together, we will embark on a journey through 8 Vietnamese dishes that moved a legend. Not just for the incredible flavors that have conquered the world, but for the stories of people, culture, and the raw, life-affirming philosophies behind them. Let's follow in the footsteps of Anthony Bourdain to discover what it was about these dishes that made him call Vietnam a place where he belonged. 1. Bun Cha Hoang Lien, Hanoi. On the journey to discover the soul of Vietnamese cuisine, the first and perhaps most iconic stop is Hanoi, with a dish that has become legendary, Bun Cha. A historic moment was captured at the restaurant Bun Cha Hoang Lien. The scene was remarkably simple: an old wooden table, 3 low plastic stools, ice-cold bottles of Hanoi beer, and 2 steaming bowls of Bun Cha. It was one of the most pivotal dinners in the history of food television, not because of its glamour or extravagance, but for its pure simplicity and the fateful meeting between the gifted chef and the most powerful president on the planet, Barack Obama. Bourdain called it a deeply poetic dinner. He was captivated by the way the pieces of pork were flipped on the grill over the glowing red charcoal that the people of Hanoi have used for generations. The fragrant smoke, infused into every fiber of the meat and clinging lightly to his clothes, became part of the experience. To him, this wasn't an unpleasant smell, it was the aroma of authenticity. So what creates the appeal of this seemingly simple dish? It's a symphony calculated down to the last detail. The main ingredients consist of 2 types of grilled pork, cha vien, which are patties made from minced pork shoulder seasoned with fish sauce, pepper, and dried shallots, and cha miang, which are thin slices of marinated pork belly. Both are grilled until charred at the edges, releasing an intoxicating aroma. The soul of the dish lies in the bowl of sweet and sour dipping sauce, mixed to a golden ratio of fish sauce, vinegar, sugar, and water, with added minced garlic, fresh chili, and especially pickled green papaya and thinly sliced carrots. The way you eat Bun Cha is an art in itself. You take a tangle of pristine white rice noodles and dip them into the warm bowl of sauce brimming with grilled pork, accompanied by a bouquet of fresh herbs like perilla, Vietnamese balm, and lettuce. Everything harmonizes in your mouth. The sweetness of the pork, the clean taste of the noodles, the sweet and sour notes of the dipping sauce, and the fragrance of the fresh herbs. It's not a dish that's simply served to you. It's an interactive experience, a dance of flavors. In that humble setting, Bourdain exclaimed,
And it is about as typical and uniquely a Hanoi dish as there is. These beautiful little pork patties, some grilled pork belly.
That sentence encapsulates his philosophy. For him, Bun Cha wasn't just a dish. It was a symphony of Hanoi. It's the sizzle of the pork on the charcoal, the delicate dipping sauce, the freshness of the herbs, and the entire atmosphere of the street. It's Hanoi in a bowl. 2. Boon Swan Nyo Si Lien Hanoi. If Boon Cha Huang Lien was where Bourdain shared a meal of historic diplomacy, then Boon Swan Nyo Si Lien was where he found a grittier, more authentic Hanoi experience. Stepping away from the glamour, he sought out a bustling food market, a place famous for a delicious dish and a proprietress with a one-of-a-kind attitude.
Đứng đấy làm gì nóng lắm. Nó gọi cái gì gọi nhanh lên, gọi lâu thế.
Sao ấy 4 lưỡi mới mọc.
Nhưng mà nhà chị không có mọc. Em thích mọc em ra ngoài chợ đầy mọc.
This is the birthplace of the legend of Boon Chui, or cursing noodles, a living testament to Bourdain's philosophy that unique characters and excellent food often go hand in hand.
Thôi tốt nhất là đi về nhà nấu lấy ăn nhá, ở đây không nấu, đi luôn.
He didn't flinch. On the contrary, he was drawn in by that unvarnished frankness. And then, when the bowl of noodles was placed on the table, all the surrounding noise seemed to fade away. It was a seemingly ordinary bowl of noodle soup. But the light sourness from the elephant ear stem, the tender ribs, and the clear broth made Bourdain fall silent. It wasn't the silence of judgment, but of contemplation and pure enjoyment. In that bowl was a quiet, meticulous care. The broth, unlike any other, was clear and naturally sweet, the result of hours of simmering bones. The ribs were slow-cooked to fall-apart tender perfection, the meat practically melting off the bone at the slightest touch. But the most distinctive highlight was the pieces of elephant ear stem, known as taro stem in some regions, which were carefully prepared to retain a pleasingly crunchy texture and release a delicate and light sourness, perfectly balancing the richness of the pork ribs. This wasn't an explosive dish that challenged the palate. It wasn't loud or fancy, but it had the ability to comfort a heart that has traveled far and grown homesick. For a traveler like Bourdain, who had tasted countless complex flavors around the world, this bowl of pork rib noodle soup was like a warm hug. It was reminiscent of home cooking, of meals made with total care, without the need for a single flowery word. The contrast between the vendor's somewhat gruff demeanor and the gentle, soothing nature of the food created an experience that was quintessentially Bourdain. Prickly on the outside, but warm and sincere deep down. In the end, as he left the stall, Bourdain had found another truth in the heart of Hanoi. For him, sometimes the most beautiful thing lies in the smallest. This bowl of Boon Swan Nyo Si Lien doesn't need a spotlight or global recognition. Its beauty lies in the perfection of its simple elements, in its ability to bring a sense of peace and pure satisfaction. If Boon Cha was a grand symphony, then Boon Swan was an intimate whisper, proof that sometimes food isn't meant to impress, but to heal. 3. Ban Quan Ham to Kuan, Hanoi. Leaving behind the boisterous energy of the pork rib noodle proprietress, Bourdain's journey took him to another, small corner of Hanoi, to a culinary art form that demands serenity and gifted hands. This was Ban Quan Ham to Kuan. This wasn't a dish of explosive flavors, but one of grace, a delicate culinary experience, as ethereal as the paper-thin sheets of rice batter themselves. Each sheet of steamed rice roll was a stage for the maker's highly skilled personal performance. Bourdain sat there, completely mesmerized by the process. He didn't just see a cook, he saw an artisan. With a focus that was almost meditative, the maker would ladle a measure of thin rice flour batter, deftly spreading it across a cloth stretched over a pot of steaming water. The batter would instantly transform, turning from opaque white to translucent. Paper-thin sheets filled with pork and wood ear mushrooms, served with cinnamon pork sausage and a dipping sauce. For Bourdain, Bun Cha was a testament to the incredible dexterity of the Vietnamese people. In just a few seconds, the paper-thin sheet was lifted off with a bamboo stick, filled with a mixture of stir-fried minced pork and crunchy wood ear mushrooms, then rolled with speed and precision. He was captivated watching each layer of batter being steamed like an artistic ritual. It was a dance of the hands, a perfect marriage of speed and finesse that must take years to master. When the steaming plate of Bun Cha was served, topped with a layer of fragrant golden brown fried shallots and a few slices of rosy cinnamon pork sausage, and accompanied by a delicate sweet and sour dipping sauce with a hint of chili, Bourdain found a different definition of perfection. The dish melted in your mouth, soft and smooth, yet still full of flavor. It wasn't a heavy dish designed to fill you up, but one that would gently awaken the senses. It was the perfect start to a new day, a poetic morning greeting from Hanoi. Through this dish, Bourdain didn't just enjoy a delicious meal. He witnessed the magical transformation of rice, a symbol of the wet rice civilization. He saw the patience, meticulousness, and pride of the Vietnamese people in transforming the simplest ingredients into a masterpiece. For him, Vietnam wasn't just delicious, it was full of magic. That magic wasn't found in anything supernatural. It was right there in the hands of the rice sheet maker, in the ability to turn rice flour into edible silk sheets. Bun Cha was proof that beauty and excellence don't always need to be loud. They hide in small stalls, in quiet skill, and in the heart and soul of its creator. 4. Bia Hoi Hanoi, Hanoi's fresh beer. After filling up on exquisite dishes, Anthony Bourdain's journey in Hanoi wouldn't have been complete without the final piece of the puzzle, something that was more than just food, Bia Hoi. This isn't just a beverage, it's an inseparable part of the rhythm of street life. He sought out the familiar street corners where the little plastic chairs spill out onto the sidewalk, where the clinking of glass mugs and the lively chatter create a vibrant soundtrack for the city. In that setting, Bourdain found a simple truth and had to exclaim, "Nowhere else in the world can you drink beer this cheap, this good, and this fun as in Hanoi." The golden-hued beer, served in simple glass mugs, is a fresh, unpasteurized draft beer, brewed daily and delivered in metal kegs. It's light, ice-cold, and incredibly easy to drink, a perfect refreshment for the tropical climate. But for Bourdain, its appeal wasn't in the alcohol content. Bia Hoi, it wasn't about the buzz, but the atmosphere. Bourdain called it a social ritual, a place where all classes and all ages sit together, equal and authentic. And that was precisely the beauty that captivated him. At these sidewalk Bia Hoi joints, social boundaries seemed to dissolve. A CEO might be sitting next to a construction worker. A young student might be clinking glasses with a retiree. Everyone sits on the same low plastic stools, sharing plates of boiled peanuts, nem phung, or tofu fried with scallions. There is no judgment, no distinction. There are only stories, laughter, and the gleeful cheer of 1, 2, 3. Zo. It's an absolutely democratic space where people connect in the most primal and sincere way. This is the stage for real life, where relationships are built over mugs of beer and casual conversation. Bourdain didn't just observe, he immersed himself in it. He became a part of that ritual, sitting in the middle of the flow of life, listening and feeling. In a moment of bliss amidst the chaos of Hanoi, with a cold beer in his hand, he once sat there, in the heart of the city, and said, "This is where life really happens." For him, life wasn't found in towering office buildings or fine dining restaurants. It was right here, on the sidewalk, where people meet, share, and connect without barriers. Bia Hoi isn't just a refreshing drink. It's the lifeblood of the city, the soul of communal connection, and the place where Bourdain felt the truest heartbeat of Vietnam.